Hey everyone, welcome to the 500th episode of the Graced Health Podcast. It's good to be back. I took an unplanned month off. This was not on my bingo card. This was not on my content calendar for 2026, yet here we are. If you are on my Tuesday emails, you already know this, but my dad passed away unexpectedly at the beginning of February, and I have just needed the time. I'll be sharing a little bit more about what happened with my dad and a few thoughts and lessons from him at the end. For months, I have known that this 500th episode was coming, and I have been trying to figure out, how do I celebrate 500 episodes? I had a lot of ideas. Some of them were from me, some of them were from you. But if I'm totally honest, they were a lot of work. Like, people were saying, oh, I love it when I can hear clips from former guests and things from you. And I love that idea too. And it's a lot of work. And I just didn't have that bandwidth, especially now. But I've been kind of praying about it and asking God, like, where do you want me going with this? And he led me to a surprising theme, which was uncomfortable lessons over these 500 episodes. Now, you guys know me. If you have been with me for any of these episodes, you know that I like to keep it positive. I like to keep it encouraging. Like, that is what I think is one of my spiritual strengths, is just encouragement. And so saying that I'm going to have uncomfortable lessons feels uncomfortable to me, but I just decided to go along with that. And I had no idea, but God did, how pertinent that theme would be. In today's episode, I am going to share some of these lessons with you and merge that with just some business lessons that I have either experienced or learned from the actual act of podcasting, as well as for my guests. So it's going to be kind of a mishmash of this. And I hope you'll hang with me and give me a little bit of grace as I pull these two things together. In this episode, because I always get asked about stats, I'm going to share some of these stats with you, like shameless, like, just plain old numbers. I'm going to share some of these uncomfortable lessons that I have learned, including a deeply personal one that I learned after recording and scheduling the 499th episode. And then I will be merging in some business decisions that you may want to know about. Don't worry, it's nothing huge, but just things as we go forward, as we move forward, that I think you might be interested in. I hit post on my Graced Health website in May of 2016, which means not only are we celebrating 500 episodes right now, we will be celebrating 10 years in May. I have been podcasting in my business longer than I haven't been. I am honored and blessed to have over 150 guests join, some of them more than once, over these 500 episodes. And the episodes themselves have ranged from anything from like very short, I called them Ask the Trainers, and those were like 5 minutes or less, to longer form ones. I mean, I don't know how Apple tells people how long these episodes are, because for a long time they were kind of all over the place. I often get asked about stats in my podcast. And it's kind of like when people would ask, well, what's your running pace? Because it's like, well, the number is what the number is, and I'm doing the best I can, but there's always someone going to be faster than I am. And more than likely, I was probably not going to be the very last person, which all the claps to the people coming in last. But there's just like, when I'm racing, I'm doing what I can do. I'm coming in at the number that I can come in at. And that's kind of how I feel with the stats. I don't have any problem sharing it, though, if I'm honest. These numbers could be so much higher if I did the things that the experts, quote, tell me to do, that I should, quote, be doing. But that's not always what has felt authentic to me. Just like I wouldn't compare my half marathon pace to an Olympic runner's pace, I'm just not going to compare myself to other podcasters, which is easy to say. It's really hard not to do. I mean, look, let's be honest. There are times that normal people, when they're coming out with their podcast and then they'll share it on social media, and I'm like, oh, they're so much bigger than I am. And I am joyous for them. I'm happy for them. And at the same time, I start shooting all over myself. Like, you should have done this. You should have done that. And at the same time, I feel very comfortable with what I have done to get to where I am. So with that said, if you are listening in one of the 150 countries that have tuned in to the Graced Health podcast over the years, about 91% of them are from the US, but I also have a smattering of other countries. So I want to give shout outs to Australia, to Canada, Germany, Belgium, Japan, Singapore, South Africa, and the UK. All of these consistently come in as listening. If you are tuning in from one of those countries, then first of all, go to the show notes, and where it says click here to message Amy, click there and let me know where you're coming in from. That would be super exciting. But I'm so grateful for the worldwide reach of the Graced Health podcast. We have reached 4,020 cities last time I checked, and about 18% of those are local. I live in the Houston, Texas area, so that includes the suburb that I live in, Houston, surrounding suburbs. But I also need to give a shout out to some other cities that are consistently tuning in and showing up. That includes Tulsa, Oklahoma, Stillwater, Oklahoma, Atlanta, Toronto, Canada. Deanne, I see you. I know you've been here a long time. Lubbock, Frankfurt, Germany. If you are in one of those cities and you have consistently listened or periodically listened, then thank you, because you are helping my numbers with that. There is a website called Listen Notes, and Listen Notes will tell you where you are globally in podcasting. Listen Notes is great to go to if you want to have a bit of a hype for your show, because what it does is it takes into account all of the podcasts that are out there, whether or not they are active. If you go to Listen Notes and you type in the Graced Health podcast, it will tell you that I'm in the top 2% globally. So yay, right? And I'll take it. Sure, if they want to tell me that I'm in the top 2%, that's great. But just like other numbers sometimes out there, it doesn't really tell the full story, because that does include podcasts that are inactive or haven't done anything. Maybe they put out one episode a year. And so it includes that. So I hold all of this so loosely, and I just say it all with like, whatever, like this is what it is. I am almost to 100,000 downloads. Again, that sounds like a great number, and it is. I'm not complaining about it. But then, I will admit it gets a little discouraging sometimes when some of these A-listers start podcasts and they're getting like millions of downloads per episode. But I'm not an A-lister, and I don't want to be. And so that's okay. And honestly, by the end of this month in March 2026, I will have reached 100,000 downloads if things go as they normally do. I don't know. People might have gotten tired of waiting for me and they're just not going to listen anymore. I don't know. To be quite honest, that 100,000 downloads after 6 years, like I feel like, oh man, you needed to be doing some other things. And I'm sorry to use this analogy again, but there's always somebody faster than you. So what do I need to do? I need to go back to approaching the show in ways that feel authentic to me and where God wants me, not in how the experts say I should be investing in the show. I know there's more I can be doing. And I'm choosing not to, because I'm trying to have the kind of balance in my life that we talk about all the time on the Graced Health podcast. Sometimes I will get the question, well, how many followers do you have? Which you think would be a very simple question to ask. It's not. Every podcast platform like Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, which is a whole different beast, they all kind of have their own analytics. So the best thing that I can do is tell you that Apple Podcast accounts for about 68% of my total listens, and Apple Podcast tells me how many followers I am. So if I pull out my finance degree and do numbers and do math like I should be able to do and extrapolate that comes to about 915 followers, I think, on just the audio portion of podcasts. I do have, I haven't even checked lately, 16 to 1,700 followers on YouTube. And so there's that potential, but to me, those are totally different ball games. And so I'm not really going to include that. And I'm just still getting my arms around YouTube. So with all of that said, because if you like to know the numbers, if you like stats, then you're like, okay, cool. Now I know. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but now you know, because I'm not trying to like hold back anything. I wanted to share 5 uncomfortable truths that I have learned in 500 episodes. And again, just in case you missed it, it's uncomfortable for me to talk about uncomfortable truths because I like to be encouraging. But this is where I felt God taking me, and God, as he always does, knew. He just knew. So number 1, with regard to your health, you can always do more, just like you can always run faster. But should you? I was having a conversation with a girlfriend over text, and she said, and I got her permission to use this, but she said, I am doing so many, quote, right and good things while still grappling with grief. And yet I'll beat myself up about the one part of one thing I'm not doing right. It's not what I eat, which is very good, or how much I move, which is a lot, but it's not doing enough lifting, or whether it's parenting or marriage or home ownership or friendship or whatever else. It can always be better. And this is what I want you to really hear. But in my heart, I know exactly when it's enough. And I'll say that again. In my heart, I know exactly when it's enough. Sure, you can probably be doing more with regard to your health. It might already be enough. And that's where your reflection is. That's where your discernment comes in, which is one of the core values of this podcast. That is where you looking to God, for him to guide you, comes in. I can be doing a lot more on social media, which I have not been on since July of 2024. I could be doing more on YouTube, but no, I just don't want to be doing all of that. I have gotten off social media, and quite honestly, it has been so freeing to me. And my podcast numbers, those numbers that I shared earlier, those are going up. Those have gone up since I've gotten off. So that is thanks to you all. That is thanks to you sharing, which is one reason why I'm always asking for you to share the show. Also on social media, when I get on, which is not very often, it is way too many marketers. It is way too many people in the wellness industry screaming that you need to buy this one thing and it will solve all your problems. It feels icky. And the other thing is I feel like it's changed and it doesn't give good connection. We get likes, we get taps. Maybe there's like in the comments, it's like, fire or right on or amen or something like that. But that's not deep connection, which is something that is really important to me. I've had people say, well, have you thought about going to Substack? And Substack right now is all the rage. Also, right now, it's not right for me. I feel like I have created in Graced Health a quiet corner. As you heard at the beginning of the episode, I like to say it's the most grace-filled corner of the wellness industry. I want Graced Health to be more quiet, to be more intentional, to be without all of the noise. And jumping into Substack and loading my shows up with ads, I didn't even talk about that, but I'm not really advertising on the show anymore. I used to for a little bit, but that doesn't feel quiet to me. And so I'm just staying in my corner. I kind of like the corner. I think you are showing up to this show and to the Graced Health community because you are looking for clarity in the noise. And I feel like it's my responsibility to serve a space that honors that. Maybe one day I'll join Substack. Maybe one day I won't. Maybe one day I'll do ads. Maybe one day I won't. I don't know, which leads me to number 2. Hold your health habits loosely. Things can, will, and probably should change, and that's okay. My workouts change so very often. I talk about this in next week's episode. Yours can too. If you're doing the same thing that you have always done, or you keep going back to the thing because it always worked, it's worth considering if that habit is still right for you now. I love learning. I love listening to highly educated people. And I will say this, the most educated people I hear talking about health almost always includes nuance. The more research they have done, the more they understand about a subject, there's often, I don't want to say always, but often a layer of nuance with it. They'll say things like, it depends, more than you should. And even when you do find something that works, your season may change and then you need to change with it. That has been so evident in my last month. I am just wrapping up my Moving Forward Together small group cohorts, and we talked about our non-negotiables. Like, what are the things that we will do? And like, we have to do this. And mine over the last month were shaved down to like drinking water and getting, even if it was just 30 seconds of fresh air and sunshine. And if I could get more, I got more. There was no strength training. There was some walking, and it was all very low impact. I had a girlfriend drive in from Stillwater to Tulsa and just take me on the most gentle, loving walk. And that was what I needed. I didn't need the intense workouts. One of the things I try to do in my teaching and education is I don't want to create panic. I've talked to so many women who are like, well, they tell me I'm supposed to be doing this and taking this supplement and lifting this way. And I mean, there's panic, and they are creating panic, and we don't need to have that. It is so rare for a reel or a story or a thumbnail to say things like, it depends, or maybe. We don't get that. We get these really hard, absolute words to draw us in because we want to know what it is. And that's not helping us. That's not helping us. You know, from a business perspective, holding things loosely means I used to run ads on the show, and now I don't. Over the last year, I have made a conscious decision not to monetize the podcast. I realize that's not an option for everybody. For me, it is an option. It is not helpful to my bottom line. However, and I say this in full humility and such gratefulness, but you have told me that you trust me, and I hold that so carefully. Like I'm walking around with this little crystal cross of trust that you have given me. And it is so important to me that when you tune into the Graced Health podcast, you are hearing the content, you are hearing the grace, you are hearing education, and there's not a lot of other stuff that is making that difficult, whether that comes from ads or just endless pitching, and particularly pitching about supplements. I feel like we're like in this supplement era. Like, I mean, there's so much supplement, like everyone's pitching a supplement. And I did a whole podcast episode on supplements. You can go listen to that. I'll put it in the show notes if you want. But I'm just so weary of like, this is the one supplement that is a cure-all for everything, and you have to have this and you must take it. Anything that is coming in with like all of these superlatives, I'm sorry, I don't trust that. I just don't. I have said it before and I have said it again. There is no magic wand to anything. It's a combination of a lot of different things. The third lesson, uncomfortable lesson that I have learned is sometimes we do the things that we don't want to do so we can do the things that we want to do, either now or later. We talk a lot about taking care of our future self, which I got from a writing mentor of mine named Kathy Lipp. And I love this phrase, taking care of our future self. We may need to make a choice today to take care of our future self more than our current self, unless your current self needs attention. Like sometimes we do things because we just know that we'll be glad that we did later. And even as a personal trainer, and even as we have conversations about moving our body, this is where the nuance comes in. I did an episode on January 12th, 2026 called The Crucial Pre-Workout Question. And it is all centered around like, why are you showing up? What do you need today? Because that can be very different from day to day. This nuance is either highly annoying if you just want someone to tell you what to do, or freeing if you need some grace. And I think a lot of you are showing up because you need some grace. You know you're going to get it. The title of this is Graced Health. Having said that, sometimes we don't want to do something. So maybe that is exercise, maybe it's strength train, maybe it's meal prep or meal plan, but we do it anyway for our future selves. Sometimes I don't feel like lifting heavy things, but I do it for my bones and for my muscle now, yes, but also for my future self. And yes, you heard that right. This personal trainer doesn't always want to strength train. And if you're surprised to hear that, then make sure you are tuning into my episode next week with my colleague, Carrie Ann Madden. We are dishing some secrets and share how our movement has changed over the last 10 years. And spoiler alert, we both are like, sometimes I don't feel like doing it. And there are things in my business that I don't want to do, but I need to do to make it run. For example, I told you I'm still getting my arms around YouTube. YouTube is kind of a bear on the back end. Like, you got to make these thumbnails, and the thumbnails need to be visually appealing, and they've got to say they rate these things. And I'm like, I hate it. Like, I hate making young YouTube thumbnails. I'm trying right now with just kind of doing a template because I'm so tired of thinking about it. The metadata on the back end takes a long time to do. But there are things that right now I will do in my business because it is helpful to the future of the podcast. You know, there's things in our business. I mean, there's things at any time, right? Like our kids have to do homework when they're in school because we want them to do well, and hopefully they want to do well on grades. So sometimes we just have to do the things that we don't want to do because our future self will be grateful for that later. Lesson number 4, working and working out is hard. Rest is harder, or at least it is for many of us. So many of us don't feel productive if we aren't checking a box and getting things done and getting that little dopamine hit. And I am one of these people as well. And depending on what you're doing, your exercise can leave you sore and fatigued and huffing and puffing and let's like HIIT classes and just like the full 1 hour class and all of that. And if so, that's great. Also, if not, that's fine too. Many of us are conditioned that working out needs to be an hour, which no, it doesn't have to be, that it needs to leave you sweaty, not true. And in general, we should feel like we've just slammed our face against the wall when we're done, and absolutely not. We are not hearing that rest days are important, that your body gets stronger in recovery time. It is okay to skip a workout every now and then. You do want it to be a skip and not a trend, but it's okay to do that. From a business perspective, every now and then I go on pause. All of them, except this last one, were planned. I typically will take 2 to 4 weeks off at Christmas time. I will do something different in the summer. Like last time we had a moment of grace where I carved out one little snippet from guests where they just really brought the grace, and that was the episode. I need that because I need the rest in the podcast. I need the recovery of the continual episodes every single week. As I mentioned, I am coming back off of an unexpected month off, which I'll talk about more in a minute. And I'll tell you, it is hard to take that rest. From a business perspective, it is really hard to take that, quote, rest, because I fear that if I don't keep showing up with brand new content every single week, that you'll just want to break up with me. You're like, oh, no, it's been a couple weeks. She's not here. I am unfollowing. Or it's a shorter episode and I want longer ones. I am unfollowing. But I've also heard in the quiet corners when I'm in coaching calls or having other conversations that some of you appreciate that I'm practicing what I preach, essentially, and trying to. And maybe you haven't even noticed that I've been gone a month. Maybe you're just like, oh, here's a new episode from Amy. I'm going to listen. But the off times, the changing it up, those are mentally hard for me to get through because I have all of these fears, which are probably unfounded, but I have fears. I have fears about it. Now, I will say that all of us talk about rest on the podcast. I am not teeing up that I'm resting from the podcast at this time. I have thought about it. I prayed about it, and God just so sweetly infused new life into me with the help of my business strategist. Her name is Soraya Estes with Think Purple Consulting. Highly recommend. So if you need some help from a strategy perspective with your business, give her a call. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. And through my time with her, I was able to clarify my year, which is sadly in 10 years, this is the first time I've really gone in with a really strong strategic plan. This year, I am resting a little bit more by not creating so many projects. I tend to be very project oriented. And instead, I'm focusing on two things. Number one is getting strong and vibrant in your hands. If you are someone who says, I know I need to strength train, I don't know what to do, I don't want to go to a gym, I don't have a lot of equipment, and I can't hire a personal trainer. If that's you, then my hope is that Strong and Vibrant at Home feels like the right fit for you to do your workouts at home, watching me, with me in 30 minutes or less. The other thing that I'm focusing on is the small group cohorts. We just finished up our first Moving Forward Together small group cohort for February. I'll be doing it again in September and maybe in the summer for all of my educator friends out there. But these are the two main things I'm going to be talking about this year. And already it has given me peace and clarity and confidence since I was out for so much of February. And I don't feel overwhelmed like I have to be getting so much more done because I know what my focus is. So again, Soraya, thank you. Thank you for your help. It was so meaningful. Finally, my fifth uncomfortable lesson is we steward our bodies well, but we are not in control. On February 6th, I finished prepping this episode and planned on recording it on that next Monday to air on February 17th. Little did I know that a few hours later, my dad would die at his dinner table. His heart simply stopped. It just stopped. He had been feeling unwell that week, but good enough to go pick up dinner for him and my mom to enjoy. They had plans to eat their takeout and then watch the Olympics opening ceremonies. He actually had a doctor's appointment on Monday, and so our theory was he didn't want to go to the doctor like we told him to, and he just thought, well, I'll just talk to the doctor about it on Monday. One thing he taught me to do, and I do this, I just did this with my annual exam, is he would always get blood work done before his doctor's appointment so he and his doctor could review it. So when my sister called his physician's office on Monday to say he wouldn't be coming to his appointment and that he had passed away, the physician called back, which was so kind of him. And even the physician looked at his lab work and he said, there was nothing alarming on this. There was nothing alarming. I think the doctor's words were, his heart had simply reached the end. This is the man I have bragged about on this podcast. He played 18 holes of golf and walked 2.5 miles on his last birthday. He walked nearly every day. He was resistance training at a gym and gaining strength. He had the data to back it up. He ate a nourishing, balanced diet. He had a great community of golfing and neighborhood friends. He was outside in the fresh air. He got plenty of NEAT. He was always puttering, always doing something. And he checked so many of these boxes that we talk about as factors to longevity. And so it seems crazy to say that it was a shock that a nearly 80-year-old man died. It was to all who knew him and all who knew everything he did. My family is devastated. But what a reminder that we are always held in our Heavenly Father's hands. We are not in control. And I will say that again. We are not in control. We do what we can to steward our bodies. We use them to do the things that God is calling us to do. And then we just trust in God's plan. And sometimes like this, that plan sucks. It sucks. There's no other way to say it. I really wish God would have consulted me on this. I had a lot to say. I had a lot of reasons why he should have lived so much longer than he did. But God is God, and I am not, and I trust his timing, even though I hate it. I hate it. And I'm also grateful that one of my dad's fears of needing long-term health care never came to fruition. I can't tell you how many times he said, Amy, I do not want you taking me to the bathroom. I do not want you shaving. If it gets to the point, I want you to hire help. We can do this. He just had such a fear of needing long-term care, and now he didn't. I'm grateful for the extra 2 days I got with them when I was helping my mom recover from her knee replacement surgery, and snow canceled my flight. For that, I can say I got to hug my dad and tell him I loved him 11 days before he passed. We lived 535 miles apart, and for that, it was such a gift to be able to do that. I'm grateful for friends who have shown up and other relationships that have blossomed as a result of this. So yes, I will continue talking on this podcast, on the Graced Health podcast, about taking care of ourselves and what we can do to live vibrant, strong, and vibrant lives. I will keep talking about things that are important, like drink your water, get outdoors, lift heavy things, get sunshine, invest in your friends, eat a variety of plants. All of these, of course, I do believe are important. But most importantly, we've got to grow our relationship with God. He's the one who has ultimate control of our health, and only our eternal health is guaranteed. And there are some health influencers out there that I wish understood this. People who say they're going to live forever. I am so sorry to tell you that is not going to happen. Thanks for being a part of 500 episodes, whether you are listening to your 500th or your first. I'm truly honored and so glad that you are here. And until God calls me out of this, I will keep showing up to help you move forward with grace and strength. That's all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.